Jennifer Dunn.
Keith O'Connor.
Kate Sullivan.
Jodie Egan.
Sinead Wilde.
Stephen Cluxton.
Dublin have this planned, I'm convinced of it.
Do a lot of coaching courses and I quote you on something, right? So
It's not pulling and dragging.
no.
Tommy was used to fire rockets across the training ground out of a drain pipe. He'd have the rockets on his shoulder like a rocket launcher firing these.
Love it.
You're not an orange boots kind of player. What did you think of Philly McMahon when you watched these games?
Oh,
Hello. Welcome to Breaking Ball. I'm Conan Doherty, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by my co-host, and I'm going to introduce him, even though he doesn't need introduced because his name's already on the logo. You know who it is. He's won 8 All-Irelands. I think this is right. He's won 13 Leinster Championships across club and county. He's won 2 All-Stars, 2 Senior Club Championships, and most importantly, he is the son of an Antrim man, the product of Ulster, Philly McMahon. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm absolutely buzzing with this. I think we can bring something new to the market, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. But we have to 2 All-Stars. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? What happened there? You winning 8 All-Irelands and you're getting 2 All-Stars?
Yeah, I think they were just dishing out a lot more to the opposition full back line that were getting beaten in the finals. But I think Michael Murphy got a full back one year. He should have got a full back.
Colin Kavanagh definitely got a full back one year.
Well, Colin Kavanagh was a very, very effective sweeper as a full back. He was, it was very hard to break down.
We're not getting into the weeds of effective sweepers right away on this show, but I have to say, you did let me down. I think you got an All-Star in 2015 and 2016. So I put a little tenner on you the next year for Footballer of the Year. And it was only like 16-1. It wasn't even that good odds, but I thought, I really was sure that you were going to do it. And you had a good year, but then did you get injured then halfway through that season? Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm very lucky. I don't have many injuries that were non-contact, but I got contact injuries, which were kind of like just kind of knee issues and fingers and hands, But 2015 was the nomination for Player of the Year. 2016, I felt that a better year.
Yeah.
But once you do that, once you're nominated for Player of the Year, the cat's out of the bag. you want to do something incredibly brilliant.
You're judged on a higher standard,
again, and that's why Brian Fenton being 2-time Player of the Year is incredible.
Yeah. That's true. So coming up on the show today, we have Dublin Ladies football manager Mick Bowen. We've got a great chat with him. We're going to see how Philly got on in a skills test against the team as well. Philly, years later, and you're still trying to be a forward.
Well, in fairness, I was a forward starting off. I actually was corner forward for Dublin Miners, myself and Darren Daly, actually.
Yeah.
We were that bad that we became 2 corner backs. But Mick has been involved with us. Always fascinated by Mick's kind of coaching mind on kind of skill acquisition mostly, and we got to pick his brain in the interview, and obviously then see the setup with the girls go through in terms of their gym and what they do outside in terms of the skill acquisition on the pitch. So yeah, we're delighted to get into the setup and get going with them.
We had a bit of crack with the Dublin Ladies as well. They're a great bunch of girls there, and good players as well, obviously. And also coming up on the show, we have, I don't think I have to reach too far to make this correction, but he must be the most capped Republic of Ireland international from Mayo, right? It's Kevin Kilbane.
Yes, and an Everton player.
And an Everton player, It felt like I dipped into the Everton podcast there for a while.
Yes, so we did. We crossed over to loads of different things. We didn't do Dancing with the Stars because he was on Dancing with the Stars.
But first, you're no more. You're not playing anymore. Is it true that you've hung up the boots with Ballymun as well?
I wouldn't say hung up the boots. So I'm playing a bit of soccer. All the traditionalists of the GA world will hate to hear that, but I'm back playing a little bit of soccer for Tulka Rovers. Love it. I love going to training and thinking I have to get technically better, and and I always would have thought that way, across the board playing GA. But hung up the boots for a short period of time, so we'll see what happens.
You're going to start realising, especially now coming into April, May, just coming into summer very quickly, you're too good a player, too close a proximity to just retire. Like, you're going to get dragged out to any team, at any game, at any stage. Your phone number is never going to be off the manager's list.
Do you know what? One of the managers off the junior team contacted me and said to me, "You come up, you're not playing, come up and have a game with us." I said, "I'll come up when I'm 40, I'm only 35. I should be nearly still playing senior football. I'm not going to go down to junior at this level." But look, young Lennon, my son, he's taking up my time at the minute, and you know, when the pitch gets harder and the sun comes out, who knows, I might get that bit of a buzz back to go back playing. You
need him to get older very quickly so you can use him to take up your position, use him as a shield on the team. Like, you take him, he's very good.
He's mad for the football at the minute, so that's a good starting point.
I do have to tell you though, you upset me last night. I said to you, I'm out in Skerries, and you said, "You playing with him at all?" Philly, I played against you twice. I played against you twice and you don't even remember. And this is my call to fame. Like, you know.
Listen, I'm terrible. My memory's terrible. Just blame it on that.
I do have to thank you, Philly, because during your playing career, you gave me one of the greatest moments in football watching history. It's definitely my favourite moment of your career, and you've done a lot of good stuff. This is the 2019 replay against Kerry. Obviously, it's iconic for so many reasons, but this moment alone is so iconic. Tommy Walsh is getting ready to come on, and Tommy Walsh had such a big impact in the first game, and everyone was talking about it. And I think that James McCurphy go back on him in the first game. James McCurphy did all right, but Tommy Walsh was doing a lot of damage, and it took James McCurphy out of the engine room. He's warming up, he's ready to come on. I'm actually getting goosebumps thinking about it. Philly McMahon strips off. Dublin have this planned, I'm convinced of it. And you go stand alongside him as the fourth official's getting the numbers ready, and you're shouldering each other on the sideline. The crowd are going nuts. I've actually got goosebumps all over my body. And then you both came running on, the numbers flashed up. Two of you shouldering each other, jostling with each other the whole way down underneath the hill. Yeah. And the hill were going nuts, bringing you in underneath the post. It was class.
Yeah, it was great. Like, I suppose we were like two kids, you know, who could get the edge over who, like. But you're right, Tommy Walsh had an unbelievable. Well, he had a really good game in the first game.
Yeah,
he had his hand on 1-2 that Kerry got very vital time of the game. He had his hand on 1-2 basically. So yeah, the info was for me to warm up anytime he warmed up.
Really.
And as soon as he comes on, you're going on. So I didn't even have to look at Jim. I didn't have to look at anybody. Like I didn't even have to look to the guy that was making the subs. I was togged out, ready. And when the two of us are there, I said to myself, "You're not getting ahead of me." So I stepped ahead of him.
Brilliant.
So when I was on the pitch, because I was going to mark him, there was no point in me running into the full back line.
Yeah.
So I stood in front of him. And we had a good battle. Now, I didn't really play much that year. Like, so he'd played a good bit. He definitely had minutes in his legs more than I had, but the incredible thing is he's probably one of the biggest fellas I've ever marked. He's 6'5" and I'm 5'11". Yeah. People don't realise that, you know, when you're on the pitch you look a bit bigger than what you are, but he, for a guy that size, he moved really well, like, you know, but brought great energy to the game, I suppose.
Yeah, is this your favourite moment? Like not just this running onto the pitch, but of all your Dublin career, is this the one?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I suppose my favourite moments are the ones where you do your job, you know. And my job there that day was to make sure he didn't have his hand on 1-2 like he did in the first game.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that I succeeded in that, and that helped us win that All-Ireland, you know. Yeah.
And look, you're a media mogul now. Your name is literally on the wall. Do you feel a bit dirty? Welcome to my life now, Phil.
Yeah, let's call it the dark side, you know. But I think more sports, you know, more footballers, and particularly you'll see a lot more Dubs getting involved in the media world. And I think it's good. I think once you don't let any of the change room secrets out, which is important because you don't own that information, it's the group that own that information. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying telling stories that are involved in me rather than the group or the change room, and it's been a good journey so far.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try my best to get that information out of you as we go along. I'm just going to try and disarm you as we go. I thought my way in would be like, "Hey, Philly, remember the time we played against each other at Ballymun and Skerries?"
That was a bad start.
Yeah, it's a very, very bad start. All right. Last night we went up to DCU to visit the Dublin ladies ahead of championship to see how they're getting on. Let's see how this man got on.
Jennifer Dunn from Dalkey. Keep O'Connor, striker. Kate Sullivan, Sinead Ahern wannabe. Joe Deegan, centre half. Sinead Wild, lost without the stick. Owen Martin half forward, your pals.
Stephen Cluxton, I'm back. So Mick, this is your 7th consecutive year with the Dublin ladies. Done 9 altogether.
9, yeah.
Do you get fed up at all?
Yeah.
You do? What parts do you get fed up of?
Since 2002, I've been involved with a Dublin inter-county squad of some description. It's a long stint.
It is. How do you keep it fresh? How do you, like, I mean, you know, when you're in, you as a manager thinking, am I saying the same things over and over again? How do you keep it fresh?
And it's amazing. I've asked myself that question so many times as regards, am I boring now? Am I getting boring? And probably what I've learned to do is give a lot more people a voice. While definitely in the early days, even in coaching in school, you were the only voice. But that's too repetitive.
So you're in with us, the Dublin senior team. How have you found the difference between the men's game and the women's game?
Yeah, there's probably a big difference in the skill levels, Philly. Like the attitude is the same. Like in fairness, you know, what they commit to and their willingness to try and get better is exactly the same. Probably, and there's good and bad in this, when we started off, we were really fighting for standards. You know, while I look at the lads, and obviously Jim at that time, you know, post-Giller, the bar was really, really high.
You spoke about the skills. What kind of differences? Like obviously, biologically, I work with females and males, so you'll see a lot of females with knee issues based off the kind of the dimensions of the hips and the knees going in, and you know you see a lot of girls, unfortunately, with cruciate injuries. So the biological shape of the body is different. So how does that impact the skill level?
You'll be impressed with this one, and having come through the college, you'll be interested in it. I remember going back to Niall Moyna in 2017, and I couldn't get over how poor the finishing was. And in 2016 All-Ireland final, they had a 35 or 36 shot to score ratio against Cork, and you know, no wonder why the game was lost. And I went to Niall asking, you know, physiologically, is there something different? And he put me in touch with a biomechanist in DCU who came over to watch them train, and he asked us for footage on what the kick should look like, and then for footage on what it did look like.
I hope you showed him a clip of me, did you?
It took a bit of searching, but we eventually found it. I think that was around 2015 for you, was it?
I hope it wasn't Mick Fitz you showed him kicking the ball.
Michael Dara. But anyway, the bottom line is this: he went away with his footage and he came to watch them, and he said this to me 3 weeks later. I could have told you this 3 weeks ago, but you would have felt I was dismissing. So 3 things. 1, he said you can work on. Their glutes were weak, so therefore the swing wasn't as controlled. So that was a simple fix. You can go after that. But he said the second thing, which was the key one, was poor underage coaching.
Right.
And he said, now, that's your challenge. Can you fix it? So the soccer kick, that little instep kick that most fellas do for fun, wasn't the norm. It was like Sinead Ahern, Nicole Owens. There was probably 2 or 3 who did it because they had played soccer.
Yeah.
Or they had somebody who took them aside or whatever. But most of them kicked off their laces, so the bone in the middle of your foot as opposed to the side of your foot. And that's been our biggest challenge. Every kid that comes into us kicks off their laces.
The last 2 seasons, Meath,
tough.
Have won both All-Irelands. How's it been? Has it been easier to motivate yourselves coming back in after seeing Meath win it 2 in a row? Has that been easy to motivate the girls? Have you found it easy to motivate yourself because of that?
I was driving back from Clare the other day, and I had 2 little ones in the car, and I was thinking to myself, because their careers are really beginning, and I was thinking back over, and I've been lucky enough to work with guys like you, with Sigersons and with Dublin, and one of the things that struck me was, no matter how many times you're successful, losing doesn't sit well. And the last 2 years have been really difficult, because when you stop being successful, it's nearly like a hole in you. Like it's nearly something you're not comfortable with. Like what do you do now? So you have to. But part of it is, as we all know, is you have to show a bit of character in that. Okay, well these days come, and for lots of people they come more regularly than not. So there has to be a way to answer that. So we've gone through a huge change with something like 16 new players in this season. But even though we're not top dogs at the moment, you're back to trying to, with new kids, teach a group how to, even the taste of winning or losing or that desire all over again. And there is a nice challenge in that, because sometimes when you're at, we were very lucky for those 4 or 5 years, like that, you're contesting most competitions at the latter stages. And there's a fantastic feeling, as you well know. Yeah. But then when you come off it, it's a completely different skill set. And part of it is patience, or the acceptance that you're not the top team anymore. And that's not easy. Like, it doesn't come naturally that you go, that's okay. It's not okay. Yeah. Because you still want to chase.
It's so interesting, like, we were kind of at the same level we you were in terms of winning things, and we dropped off similar level as you did. Sure. Like, you gave me one bit of advice, and for most people it was tiny, but it made a huge difference in my game. Can you remember what it was? Something got to do with me kicking.
Well, I before you tell me that, I do a lot of coaching courses, and I quote you on something, right? So
it's not pulling and dragging.
No. The four skills of Gaelic football: catching, kicking, pulling and dragging. I was told that before a conference. No, John Morrison who would have been a really good mentor for me, would have always talked about, the shield. So the Roman soldier, there's your shield, there's your sword, and your stance, right? And I always remember, so if a player's coming at you, like Michael Jordan in basketball, you showed him the way. But if he went that way, rather than taking 2 steps, you turn. And I always remember you pulled me, saying, that's all fine out 70 metres from goal. Yeah. Turn your back on the fella in the small parallelogram, the large parallelogram, you're turning around, the ball's in the back of the net. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to revisit that one. That's actually a fair point.
I was probably being cheeky, Jesus.
No, that's coaching. That was from the arena. You made a really valid point. There is a time to only take 1 step, but there's a time where it's a fire, and you need to put the fire out. Yeah. But so I would have made, during my coaching career, I've a notebook, and I actually intend to put this to print to help other coaches. So I have that in it. Yeah. And I have things. Now, you only picked up one thing from me. I think I picked up half a dozen from you.
The one, it was so crucial for me, right? Long story short, at some point in my career, I was told as a cornerback, don't go beyond this point.
Yeah.
I remember a specific manager taking me off because I did. And so I always had this complex about going forward. And but I always, because I was a corner forward when I was playing with Dublin Miners, and I got that in me. I was playing corner forward for Ballymun at senior level, but then I obviously wasn't a good corner forward because I got pushed back into defence. But a small thing that made a massive difference in my game was you always told me, when you kick the ball, go after.
Yeah.
Just go make that pass and move.
Follow the ball.
And that was with DCU, and it made a difference, because when I did that, it got me into positions where I was able to get scores. And then once I started getting scores, the trust in the likes of my teammates, but also offensive coaches, which would have went, get back there, Philly, like, you're a defender, do your job back there. Then they had to start saying, well, he's making the difference going forward, let's let him do it.
Well, in fairness to Jim, and again, I would say this in coaching, and the seasons, you'd have a much better idea of the seasons than me, but I remember one of the seasons you had something like 8 shots on goal, and you scored twice.
Yeah.
And most coaches would go, exactly what you're saying, go back there, you're a cornerback. He said to you, you're only entitled to take those shots when you become a 70% finisher, which was the scoring challenge.
Yeah.
And I thought to him, that's brilliant. That's coaching.
Yeah.
Because most fellas don't have that vision. And in fairness, what season was it that you outscored 15. The Gooch? And I know that's not the narrative, and is brilliant. But the point being on it, a lot of other fellas would close the door on it.
Do you watch, actually, I'm on the dark side of the world now. I'm in the media world. I'm doing a bit of punditry. Do you ever watch, so I won't mention certain, shows, but do you ever go, geez, that pundit is absolutely talking crap. Do you know what he's talking actually?
I've already said this to my mates, that, I'd listen, the Sunday game is the one that, and I listen to the plan A and plan B, and I get irritated and say, plan A and plan B. Every single team plays by a series of concepts. And you may be playing a concept or two at a certain stage of the game, and then you change to different concepts. But there is absolutely no such thing as plan A or plan B. And when I hear that been said, I go, those guys don't know how to coach. I don't know what coaching is. Because there isn't a plan A and a plan B. Does a team go out and play plan A in the first half and plan B in the second? No. And even when they go helter-skelter for the first quarter and they slow the pace of it, that's not a plan A or a plan B. They are concepts of play, as you well know.
Great stuff from the Dublin ladies. Philly, you were freaking out there when you saw the size 4 balls. I think you didn't realise for a stage.
No, I actually didn't cop it. I was like, it didn't cross my mind once that I was going to be kicking a smaller ball.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, I was probably being a bit cocky. Oh, it'll be easier. But it was actually harder. Like, it wasn't actually going the distance I'd normally hit it, like, because you're hitting a ball that's probably a little bit lighter, so it's dipping. So it took me. That's what I'm blaming for all the misses, basically. Not because I'm a defender, because of the football. But the girls had the hang of it. They were well better at kicking the size for them.
Oh yeah, well they're using these tools all the time. I'd never get to use them.
Blame the tools.
Yeah,
blame the tools.
I got some shots of you looking very sheepish and appealing to Mick as well. Like, take it easy on me. Don't make me look too bad here. I have to talk about one very important thing: the orange boots.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, come on. I can.
Yeah.
You might have more experience than me, but I've got enough experience as this kind of player, not an orange boots kind of player, to tell you that you're not an orange boots kind of player.
Like, you look at my whole career and can you see a chain of games where I've wore black boots. I was always a colourful type boot person, and I remember the legend Dave Hickey.
Yeah,
absolute hero to all of us.
Yeah,
his prediction was that we'd win 10 All-Irelands. We went far off it, considering there might be one or three lads that could win 9 this season. But I remember him pulling me because I had coloured boots on.
Really?
Yeah, he pulled me because I had coloured boots on. And Dave, he's very smart, know, with the way he would look at them boots and Pat Gilroy then said to me something about boots, so I had to get rid of those boots.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of weeks later, Dave's son showed up to the training session. He's only a young lad, young Dave. He showed up to the training session with the same boots on. And I says to Dave, Steve, he has my boots on, what's the story? And he's just waved her off. He says, I can't win, he said. But always wore colourful boots. Always felt good in colourful boots.
Yeah.
But you got to back it up. That's the key thing. You got to back it up if you've got colourful boots. That's what I loved.
Maybe that's the difference. I remember there was a knockoff version of the gold. Remember the David Beckham Predators? You got the cheap version of them, and I wasn't that type of player. And I felt great in them, but when you're not backing it up, when you're not doing the things that a person wearing those boots should do, I don't know. I just felt
my dad would have always said, if I pick the colourful boots, he said, yeah, well, you better back that up. You better play well now.
Yeah.
Because you're going to stand out. You're going to, so it's not as if you want to do that at adult football. You want to stand out because of your boots. You don't. You just want to feel good in the boots. So, I would have wore bright boots all my career.
Yeah. Well, fair play to you. Fair play.
There you go.
All right. The men's championship started last weekend, and I suppose we have to congratulate Mayo for being the first team into the All-Ireland last 16 in his 3rd season now. They've got themselves a nice little 6-week break because of the quirk of the championship. This is great for them. Won the league, get to reset, go off on holiday, enjoy yourselves, lads. We'll all see you in the last 16.
Yeah, I'm worried what to say here because whatever I say here are going to be slaughtered for by Mayo fans. But most consistent team this year.
Yeah.
Different approach. They got the bounce with the energy of the new manager in terms of Kevin McStay. Aidan O'Shea has been someone that has been revived. That's, let's say, of his performances throughout the league. He's been very good, and other players like O'Donoghue and other players are stepping up to the mark that are filling the void for big leaders that have left the panel. So all credit them out. They deserved to win the league. They were the most consistent team in the league, which was different to what they would have done approach-wise over the last couple of years. However, this is where I'm controversial with probably Mayo fans. I think they won it on a default.
Well, do you want to do a victory lap on your article where you did call them default champions? Because I've got a couple of nice quotes here. So just
go for it.
You might not get a lot of opportunities to do a victory lap, so I'll give them to you when they come along. You said, playing Aidan O'Shea full forward and kicking the ball isn't exactly reinventing the wheel. I would say it probably is for them, but we'll get into this. Then you also said there's still lots of unknowns about Mayo. You wonder how they might react to a loss to Roscommon tomorrow. So you obviously wrote this before the game. Whether there are any demons lurking in the background. Stand over that?
Well, the evidence is there now. Like, they got beaten by Roscommon, but I think I marked Aidan O'Shea. They banged the ball in on top of him. So nothing really. That's nothing different. Now they'll say that they'll mix it up by giving them short hand pass to create the full back to move out, and then they'll mix it up by banging in a high ball. In fairness to them, they did kick a ball into him on Roscommon, against Roscommon, and he flicked it on, and I think they got a score from it. They possibly could have got a goal chance from that. Did they hit the bar?
Was the one hit the bar?
Hit the bar. So that works. But for me, the crucial thing was I've seen Mayo's energy after drawing the game against us in 2016.
Yeah.
And their energy was totally different. And we went out and bet them in the next game. And that's where it was coming from. You know, I might feel like I'm talking about Aidan O'Shea a lot, but Aidan O'Shea doing a fist pump at the end of the game as if he's won an All-Ireland. I'm looking at that kind of going, you've just won the league there. Like, the league's a big thing, and don't get me wrong, but you're out in Championship next week and you've tried to get over the line winning All-Irelands for the last how long? I'd be nearly going, you know, body language would show that I'm happy, but I wouldn't be as I wouldn't celebrate it as much as I seen there. And I just love the way Roscommon started the league, their structures defensively, their discipline in defence, and the forwards they have that are starting to believe that they're good, that they're really top quality forwards.
So I feel like, do you know the way you're talking there about Mayo, and all valid points based on experience as well. I feel like you almost do a disservice to your Dublin team though when you talk like that, because that team was so good and so successful, and winning everything was so normal. Whereas this is Mayo's second league title. Is it like that? That is big, like winning a league title, and I think it is a step on the road, because it's not long since James Horan just won their first league title, and it was seen as their first national triumph at Croke Park as well.
But you have to, like, you can't take that away from them. They've won the league. They were the most consistent team this year. But who are they up against? Who did they play against? And like, so you have Dublin, who are Division 2. You have Kerry, who are kind of hung over from the previous year that started late in the season. You've got Armagh, who got relegated but could have possibly been up the table based off a couple of results. Galway were strong, and Tyrone are kind of still trying to find that consistency. So that's what I mean by default.
Yeah,
you know, who really is going to, out of that group, possibly the top 3 teams in Division 2, are going to be there at the latter stages of the championship. Who are going to be there in the All-Ireland semi-final and final out of that group? I think if you take that Mayo team out now and you go and put them in a league, Division 1 league 2 or 3 years ago, where a Kerry or a Mayo or a Dublin would have won, would they have broke through that? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, well, it's like, I know the way the championship's structured now as well. Like, I'm making a joke about it, but they are still in the last 16 now. Like, Derry are out this weekend. We'll talk about that, but I'm like, Derry are injury ravaged at the minute. Just take the break. Like, you know, not that you, I was going to say not that you say it out loud. I've just said it on the internet, but like, it would do them the world of good just to reset and come back into the last 16. And I would say, and we can go back and forward on it, I know, and they are like points worth bringing up, but out of all those teams, who's going to make it into the semi-final? I would say Mayo probably are in that running because they have started better. Like Armagh would be further down the pecking order for me, because he got relegated. Tyrone would be more unknown for me because what are they? At least Mayo have come and they've hit it. And again, you can use the argument that but they didn't bring it in the championship. But then I can also say, but they did bring it the week before, 1 week, like 7 days before they had to go out to play Roscommon in the pouring rain.
Yeah, I think it's very important for people to understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they won't do well in the championship.
Yeah.
I'm saying the league form, they had a really good league campaign, but there wasn't many competing against the level that they were at.
It's not going to matter in May,
so but the question mark I had over their heads going into the Connacht Championship was psychologically where they are. And there was a picture that I put up on Twitter.
Let's bring it up.
Yeah,
let's bring it up. I love this picture. You got a good bit of reaction to this picture.
Yeah, now it's obviously Aidan O'Shea on the ground, and there's 4, isn't there 4 or 5? 4 Roscommon players around.
Players. You love this picture, don't you?
Oh, love it. Like, take the jerseys off. If these jerseys, if you didn't have a logo on the crest on the jersey, take that away. Look at the energy in the defenders there. Yeah. Look at that's alignment. Every defensive coach or manager will love that in their team.
Yeah.
And every fan of that team will love it, but fans that are not of that team will hate it.
Yeah.
Right? Because what it shows for me is we're together here today. We're fighting for every ounce or every blade of grass on this pitch. And once you have that energy amongst 4 or 5 of them in that picture, forget about the person that's on the ground, who they are or what they've done or what county they play for. That person, I'm telling you, is thinking, oh, I'm just being sapped of energy here.
Yeah.
Not just because they turned over the ball and it wasn't a foul given, possibly for what the person was looking for, but the energy that they're going, you're not getting an ounce off us today.
Yeah.
You're in for it today.
Yeah.
That body language, that intuition is incredible. And I can tell you from a player's point of view, like there will be people, particularly I would have got a few tweets of people saying, oh, that's sledging, that's golden.
Yeah.
But like, that's just energy for me. I don't see that different to someone kicking the ball over the bar and running by somebody and going, I'm scoring. Why can't defenders do that if forwards are able to do it?
Well, I found your alternative Twitter account. It must be you in disguise. It's a fella called Steve, and he said, most of you snowflakes never played the game. Philly is right. I was like, this
I like Steve already.
Intensity is the difference. Mayo lacked it.
That's Stephen Cluxton. It's just a parody account. Steve's back.
All right, let's take a break and see how the Dublin ladies got on in the Breaking Ball TikTok challenge. All right, close your eyes. Now open your eyes. Now open your eyes.
Our eyes are closed. Let's go dry.
Alright, close your eyes. Now open your eyes.
I should have laughed. Sorry, I swallowed.
Okay, close your eyes. And now open your eyes.
I just want my funny noises. The lag.
Okay, close your eyes. Now open your eyes.
It wasn't even a build thing.
Okay, absolutely delighted to be joined from Canada, Mayo's biggest fan, probably the one that got away from County Mayo. It's Kevin Kilbane. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been a bad week, tough week anyway. But you know, we've swallowed many of these weeks in the past, so it's good.
Well, that's exactly why we got you on. Like, did you know that Philly hated Mayo? Like, that's why he said.
Listen to this, Kevin. He's spinning it already here.
Make sure we get Kevin on this week.
I know. I can honestly, and the thing is, every time I speak to the Dublin lads, you know, I'd be friendly enough with one or two of the boys and some of Philly's ex-teammates. They're all great with me. Oh, we love Mayo. They all tell me how great Mayo is. Half the team's families from Mayo, so you know we produced a great Dublin team. So that's how it worked, you know.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm half Antrim, and there's Kerry blood and there's Mayo blood, so the Dubs can never really say we're pure blood. So we'll give that to the country people. We'll say.
Yeah,
you know.
I know. I always remember my grandfather was from Longford, on my mum's side. And he always used to say, look, you know, the Dubs know. We're going back into the 40s and 50s here. You know, he used to dislike the Dubs for that reason. He'd go, they take all our country boys, all our best players, and they're all going up for jobs, and they're all going up for. And it's the way it is, isn't it? You know, Dublin's the big pull for so many of the kids.
Yeah, well, it's like every year if we're lucky to win the All Ireland, we'd have to go away to the States to raise a few bob for the team holiday, and it'd be so difficult because there'd be very little Dubs that would emigrate because they're very lucky to be able to work in the city, you know. But you'd have a lot of people from Mayo, Leitrim,
Booney, all
of those. But yeah, we'd be kind of bumming off the country people to get us on a holiday. But they're all Irish when they're all the diaspora, you know. In fairness, once you go abroad, you'll probably experience it in Canada there, Kevin. So let's start with your love for GAA. Where did it start for you?
Oh, it's my dad, obviously. My father. My dad passed away now, just the back end of 2015, and I won't go into the history of Mayo now because I think everyone's well aware of the story now. But my dad was born in September 1951. A week after Mayo won the All Ireland.
Oh,
but he lived his whole life without ever seeing Mayo win an All Ireland. So you can imagine how that was in our house growing up.
Yeah.
Especially obviously over the last 10 or 15 years, the way that it's gone. But no, when I was a kid, I mean, we were never able to pick up the games, were we, in England when I was growing up? So we'd always have to go to Manchester. I grew up in Preston. So my uncle on my mum's side, say, who married my auntie, he was a Mayo man as well. So him and my dad and my other uncles, we'd always drive over to Manchester usually for All Ireland semis and finals whenever Mayo reached them, because there's been enough of them over the years, as you well know. So that was pretty much it. And then when I retired, I was able to get. I mean, I lived in Dublin for 5 or 6 years as it was, so that it was good for me that I was able to get across back home to Achill a lot as well, and I was able to get to Castlebar. I was able to get up to Monaghan, obviously to Croker a good few times to watch a lot of the games. So I used to go to a lot of the games. I used to go to the league games. I used to get to as many as I could across the season for probably a 4 or 5 year period. So it was great for me when I finished and I retired that I was able to get to see more games in person, because it wasn't really easy for me to do that while I was playing.
Kev, let's think about 2012 to 2017 fever pitch. Mayo, Dublin. Mayo were really probably on the cusp, the closer than they'll ever be. What did you think of Philly McMahon when you watched these games?
Oh, an animal of a man. No, I know, genuinely. I mean, I knew a little bit of Philly's background, and I read his book, and, you know, Philly and I got in contact a good few years ago via social media and things like that. So we bounced 1 or 2 messages back and forth here and there. But no, you can only admire, and it's a genuine admiration. And everyone, no matter how much we hated Dublin over the years for what they did to Mayo and all the other sides, we had total admiration for the machine that they became, for the talent that they had, and the ways that they found to win games. Because, you know, when you put yourself up on a pedestal the way that or the pedestal that Dublin were on for such a long time, they were there to be shot at, and they still found ways to beat teams, no matter how many different tactics were set up in front of them. So it was incredible to watch that Dublin side. It really was. And I know we were close. We were close on a number of occasions. Probably should have, could have, on maybe any given day, should have done a little bit better on maybe a couple of those finals. But it was certainly great to see a great team. That's what I maybe look back at, and that's my memory over the last 10 or 15 years. Yeah.
As much as you were a fan of Mayo and GAA in general, Kevin, I'm a big Toffee. So I'm a big Everton fan. Yeah, me family are all Everton fans. It was bred into me at a young age. So I was a fan of Kevin. You probably, you've heard the Zinedine Kilbane name mentioned a few times, but I was a big fan of Kevin when he was at Everton, and when we started engaging in social media, chatting to each other, I was like,
fantasy stuff.
An Everton player, that's just lovely, deadly. But like anybody that I've met, particularly the Irish lads, obviously, that were played with Everton, like they're just great lads. Seamus Coleman, yourself, just top lads, and always kind of down to earth. But I'd like to actually, because I know this is a GAA thing, but I'd like to get into the Everton thing, if that's okay.
Of course.
You had a long enough career with Everton. Am I right in saying it was the second longest period with a club, Everton was?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very different. Of course, our game, the way that it was, you kind of 2 or 3 years at a club and you're always getting moved on unless you're really one of the top draw players. So I probably should have stayed longer, Philly, to be quite honest with you, Everton. And I know that I should have stayed longer. And it was a number of issues how it came about to me. I mean, as I said, I had a great time. My first season was probably my best season, even though we just about escaped relegation. My first season that was there, I think I was probably in the best form that I'd been through all my club career. And then the second season, we just had an incredible year where we finished fourth, and it was just a remarkable time to be part of that team. And the one thing, the standout factor I feel, Philly, from that season when we were at Everton was we probably had 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 leaders in that team. They were all leaders. They were all real men. There'd be a fight on the training ground. There'd be an argument virtually every single day. And as soon as he went inside, it was forgotten about. You'd shake hands, and we all wanted the same thing. We all wanted to get the best out of each other. It was an amazing side, such an amazing side to be part of. And then, as it went over a few years, Everton started to move on to the next level, and I was probably surplus, and they accepted an offer from Wigan for me. And Moisey was on the phone to me, actually. Moisey, I was in the Irish camp. We were due to play Germany in a qualifier under Steve Staunton, and I got a phone call to say, look, there's been an offer, the club's accepted it. This was David Moyes' words. There's been an offer, the club's accepted it, but you're not going anywhere. And I said to him, well, how can the club accept an offer for me and then you expect me not to go anywhere? And I don't know if it was David Moyes' relationship with me over the years that almost saying to me, look, I don't want you to go really, but it might be in your interest to move on. And that's the way that I read it anyway. And I went and spoke to Wigan, and it was financially an incredible package, and I was maybe getting to the latter 20s at that stage. And I just thought it was the best move for me to continue playing Premier League football over a number of years. And I enjoyed it at Wigan, but I think Everton was the best spell. It was. I loved it. It is my club, and that's the way that I view it now. Everton is my club, and it's the first result I look out for, even maybe ahead of Celtic, who I grew up as a Celtic fan, but Everton's my team, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. Obviously, my dad was a big Celtic fan, West Belfast connection there. But yeah, Celtic and Everton, so even if you look at over my dad's and my brother's headstone, it's a Celtic crest and an Everton crest and a Dublin one in the middle.
Wow.
So
amazing, amazing.
But I think I might have the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who was the craziest Everton player you played with?
Oh, craziest Everton player. There was a few characters in our team. There's probably only one really sticks out. It's Gravesen. Gravesen was nuts.
Tommy Gravesen, what a player.
And I can tell you now, he was. Well, I mean, you don't play for Real Madrid if you're a bad player. Let's be honest. But not many even consider Tommy the player that he was. Tommy was just. I couldn't believe how good he was when I first signed for Everton. Honestly, I was like, who's this guy here? Like, he was known as a bit of a hard man, Philly.
Yeah.
But no, he wasn't a hard man at all. He couldn't tackle. He would probably shy out of tackles a little bit. He wouldn't necessarily go in where it really hurted. It really hurt. Sorry, and he had cars or lead cars. He would do all that donkey work for him, but he just used to roam the pitch. We had to let him go on a pitch, just go and do your thing, and it was unbelievable player, but mad as a. I mean, one of the first time I signed for Everton it would have been the back end of August. It was the first transfer window actually the first time the transfer window came in. So they had obviously the firework night was over in England. So what would that be in? I'm trying to think of the date now. November 5th, obviously. So Tommy was used to fire rockets across the training ground out of a drain pipe. He'd have the rockets on his shoulder like a rocket launcher firing these.
Love it.
That was one of my first experience with Tommy. You know, he was
Brilliant.
he was wired a bit differently from the rest of us. Yeah.
Amazing, and obviously a Celtic legend as well.
Yeah. Great. He was a fabulous player. Honest to God, unbelievable. I don't think he probably Celtic saw the best of him.
Yeah.
But honest to God, what a player.
I used to love the way he passed the ball. I'm actually, believe it or not, Kevin, I'm playing soccer at the minute. I'm playing for Tolka Rovers at the minute. Yeah.
What position?
Man.
6. I'm playing in the 6.
Really?
So, but I always loved Tommy Gravison, the way he passed the ball.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be able to pass the ball long distance that you'd probably see another player that'd have to, the ball would come up off the ground a little bit. He just had this kind of body shape when he kicked the ball, just stuck to the ground.
Yeah. Let's go back to your career.
Yes, that's what I want to hear more about.
Yeah. I've had a few head cases, but I'm probably the worst out of them all.
Yeah. Well, are you a tidy 6? Are you a Gravison 6?
I was 6 in soccer. So when I was 14, I actually I went over to Nottingham Forest on trials.
I read your book. I read your book when you had trials at Forest as a kid. And it was that a tough decision for you? Did you have a decision? Well, I think you did.
Yeah, no. Do you know what happened? Like, so I was playing Gaelic football at the time as well as soccer. But Paddy Christie, who played for Dublin, I was Dublin captain. He was my coach. So the best thing he ever said to me before I went over to Forest was, "Hope you make it. But if you don't worry. When you come back here, if you ever want to just play Gaelic football, and at that stage, like particularly in Dublin, like there was such competition between sports that there would be in sports coaches that would have said, "No, come and play football, and you don't play. Come on, we play Gaelic." Like, you know. And he didn't. He was so smart. Like, so when I came back from Forest, there was a couple of clubs here in Ireland looking for me to sign for them. At age 15, 16, once you come back, and they've seen you on trials, a couple of the top clubs want to sign you in Premier. This was DDSL, and Aston Villa actually were in. There was a scout watching me from Aston Villa.
My team.
Yeah, your team. So, but then do you know what happened was, one of my teammates from Ballymun Kickham's, Davy Bourne, he came into school one day with a full kit out of Adidas gear with Ballymun Kickham's logos on it, and I was like, how are you getting looked after so well? Like, I'm just coming back from England on trial.
Amazing.
And I have to buy my own pair of shorts from the club over here. Like, and that's Paddy Christie for you. So, did you ever show the non-Irish players that played with Everton or Preston or any other clubs you were with the game itself? And did you get reaction from that?
My brother and I would always get out with the ball and hit it in the street and things like that when we were young boys, but we were never really able to play it to a decent level. And both my brother and I were decent athletes, so we would have felt we would have been half decent at the game as it was. So that's the thing that we both missed out on. We both probably feel that we would have loved to have played the game, certainly competitive, and been able to, as you say, maybe show one or two others the skill set for it.
I could definitely see you with the Jets up the line, wing back or wing forward.
I'd have loved it. Yeah, there's one or two positions where you feel as though that you could have done it, but when you watch the game. But we played in Liam Miller's charity game a few years ago. Do you remember we played down in Cork? Down in Cork. So we played in Croker, obviously, for under Steve Staunton when we played the Wales game when they were redeveloping Lansdowne. And the pitch was brought in 20 yards at least either side. So we knew the size on the GAA pitch. We knew how big the Gaelic pitches were. So when we played for Liam's charity game down there, down in Cork, they kept the pitch as wide as the GAA pitch. They went, we want to be close to the fans. So anyway, we stood in the pitch is as wide. It was like 100 meters wide. That's the normal size of the length of our pitch.
Yeah.
We're like, some of the lads, I think like Paul Scholes was playing for Man United, and Scholes was like trying to hit his diagonal balls and things. He couldn't reach like he was trying all sorts of trying to hit these passes, and we were like, just keep it short. Don't go hitting these diagonal balls because we've no chance. So we realise how big that pitch is, the ground that you boys have to cover. Yeah,
it's incredible because I get asked a lot, even when I was working the lads with Bowes, they were asking, what sort of distance, what's the difference in terms of the physical components of the game and demands of the game.
What distance would you boys cover in the game? That's interesting. I've never known that one actually.
So because we play like 70 odd minutes, it was when originally, like, but you'd cover, like, for me as a full back, the highest I would have ever covered was about 10k.
Yeah. Right.
Now, just to put that in perspective,
it's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes less.
It's less, yeah. So it's not. So the soccer boys would be going, "Oh, well, we do 12," and I'm like, "Yeah, but we do it in less time." But also, if you think about it, if you put a soccer pitch in Croke Park, it's nearly like box to box or around where the D is to the opposite D, and you think about 10k as 100 laps of that.
Yeah.
So imagine saying to somebody in 60 minutes, do 100 laps, play football, have multi-directional movements, and get hit and all this stuff. It's actually, when you look at it, it's an incredible sport that way. Whereas soccer, when I'm playing soccer, it's more structured because of offside. You have a job to do structurally, and for you to get high speed running, you'd have to hit over 40 meters.
Yeah.
You'd have to play where you were playing, Kevin, on the wing, possibly, to get your high speed running up, Whereas in GA, because the pitch is so long, no offside, you can get your high speed running up, which is what we would have been measured off. If you go over 5.5 meters per second, everything after that distance-wise is clocked as high speed running, and that's really.
I'll get boring and a bit technical here, but what was the high intensity distance that you would have covered in games as well? Because our judge would have been between 1 and 2,000. If you were hitting 2,000 or 2k per game, high intensity running, that was considered very, very good.
Yeah, we'd be a little bit less.
Usually would have been a very good one.
Depending on, we would be either 5.5. And then that could go up to maybe just under 6 meters per second to clock the distance of high speed run. But for me as a full back, I would struggle. Full forward line, full back line would struggle to get high speed running because of the distance and the way we're running. It's just short, sharp. Middle third players would be over, I'd say, 1,000 meters to 1,500 meters because they're running in the middle of the pitch, So it depends on position. We used to train, right? And we play a match. And the full back line and the full forward line would never hit the numbers the middle third would hit.
Yeah.
And Jim Gavin would always say to us, you didn't hit your high speed. And we're like, yeah, we kind of know that because we're playing in a certain position. Yeah, top it up, off you go. And
really,
you'd never hit it, but he'd always, the S&C would always say, yeah, Jim says you have to top it up.
But that's Paddy Andrews' fault. You're marking the training.
And honest to God, what was very funny was, like, I'd run up the pitch, and then let's say I was marking Paddy Andrews. Paddy Andrews would start running a little bit quicker down the pitch. And I'm like, what is this fella doing? Like, is he trying to tire me out? And then I figured out he's trying to get his high speed running up on the way back. But he'd be wrecked when he got back up into the forward line, So, yeah, that's sports science for you.
Yeah, I know.
So, will the Toffee stay up? Or will Mayo win the All Ireland?
What's more likely?
What's going to happen there with those two questions?
Oh well, I'll give you a yes to both. Will I? Is that what you want me to do? You want me to go all out there and say that? I think. I only watched the game back from the weekend. I watched the league final the week before, the Galway game, and then I wasn't able to watch the Roscommon game live, so I watched it back and.
So are you just telling us you're watching the games you're winning?
Well, yeah, something like that. I'm kind of lucky charm. I think that's what it is. Lucky charm. After the Roscommon game, nothing surprised me with Mayo. I've been there. I've seen it. I've done it. So I'm quite content just to go. Look, this is our plan. This is what the plan that's made up for us. Let's just go with it again, and we'll see where we go.
Kevin, before you go, every week we're getting a GA player or a GA fan like yourself to fill out their Breaking Ball Ultimate Team card. It's basically a FIFA card. So we want you to fill out your position. We want you to tell us then your rating out of 100 in these attributes, and we'll just go through them with you. So first of all, the main thing, we've given you 98 out of 100. That's our honest assessment, really, if Kevin Kilbane was a footballer. Let's be honest, you are a Centurion international professional footballer, so it's probably likely you would be pretty handy at this sport. But we'll get your average on each individual attribute as we go along. So first off, what is your position going to be?
I'd say I'd have to be on the wing. I'd say wing back. I think that's where I would be. I'd love to think of myself as a corner forward and things like this, but I'd be a runner. I'd have to be a runner coming from deeper. That's the way I would have to play it. I think the fitness would have been decent for that. So I'd be.
He has the
I'd say that.
Yeah, he's definitely a middle toward player for me.
Yeah, I think 10 years ago he would have been wing forward, but now he has to be wing back coming onto the ball.
Wing back, like a Jack McCaffrey up the pitch, up the wing. That's and even better, a left foot.
I wouldn't mind being half decent like him anyway. He's a player. He is a player.
Yeah, another wing back. That's what Mayo were crying out for, Kevin. So I think it's a nice start for you. Pace out of 100. What are you giving yourself?
Maybe 75. 75. Then I'll go
okay.
The big one, shooting. Like you're left-footed, so you're bound to have a bit of class about you.
I was always a great shooter, and I'm not saying great. I was always a very good shooter when I was a young lad, and then all of a sudden I kind of copped on a little bit that I couldn't be getting myself forward a little bit too much. I have to just maybe
defend a bit,
tuck into the team, do a little bit of everything. So I had a decent left foot on me. Again, I'd be 70. I'd say 70. Yeah, somewhere like that.
You have to remember, you're probably doing this in the eyes of you playing football. It's a bit easier to kick the ball over the bar. You have a second option.
I'd fancy me chances. Anyway. The one thing I'll say this now when when I watch you guys from the 45, and I say you should be better from the 45. That's the way that I look at it. Sometimes I think because that'd be something that I'd be very confident of hitting a ball at 45. And I know it's a heavier ball, and I know it's a bit different, but I'd be confident of banging a ball 45. I know the wind takes into account as well, but I'd be confident of doing that 8 times out of 10. I would be, honestly.
Passing, Kevin?
Passing, probably a bit below those levels. 60 then.
60. We have a lot of making up to do to get up to 98 here.
No, I know.
Skill out of 100. GA now.
GA skill.
There's some good lads. There's some good players that I've seen. Over the years. Your boy Dermot. I used to love watching Dermot.
Yeah, what a player.
What a player he was.
So balanced.
I'll go 70.
70.
I think these are going to be your big ones now. We've got defending and we've got physicality.
I think I'd be good in physicality. I was always strong. I was a strong runner. I'd be able to deal with it physically. Give me a year GAA training and I'd be up there with the boys.
Listen, I'll get the contract signed for Ballymun. We'll get you over one season with the Mun, and you might be like Stephen Cluxon going back to the Mayo team or the Dubs. There we go.
What you want me to give you a number?
Yeah, I won't accept anything below 90 for this.
All right, well, I'll say 90 for that one.
Yeah,
very good.
I'd be up there with that.
Defending out of 100 very quickly.
I wasn't a great defender. I played left back, but I wasn't a great defender. That'd probably be my worst, actually. I'd be 55, 60, somewhere like
You can
that.
use your hands. Like,
who wants to be a defender? Let's be honest.
Yeah. I wasn't a great defender. I didn't work on it enough as a kid, and I was kind of thrown into the position. Go on, 65. I'll give myself. I'll be kind to myself.
Kevin, that is absolutely brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us all the way from Canada. And look, there's 5 weeks to go for Mayo's next game. You might get the phone call yet. Keep your phone on.
We have a good break now. It was hard after the league final to go again. 6 days later, whatever it was. So a bit of a break for the lads now, and we'll go again. Yeah.
All right, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Thanks,
you. Thanks, guys. Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
That's class stuff from Kevin. There's only 2 games to talk about this weekend. Not that we want to get into big heavy previews or anything like that, but it's up our way. It's up the Ulster Championship direction. It's Fermanagh and Derry, and it's Tyrone and Monaghan.
Yes.
In Fermanagh and in Tyrone. So let's call it. I've got Derry and I've got Tyrone.
I have Derry and I have Tyrone as well.
Yeah. When are you next on BBC? I really enjoyed your commentary. Antrim Armagh, Connor Stewart's goal.
Yes.
I just heard you saying, off the shoulder.
Off the
Easy
shoulder.
as that. Yeah, it was good analysis.
Yeah, doing the 2 games this weekend. So I'll be at both games. So I'm really excited to see the performances. And again, just seeking to see anything new. You'll probably see me, probably hear me in the co-commentary when I get excited. There's something new. Like Armagh actually have tried in the last game. They tried a Donegal kick out. Did you see that?
Yeah.
So obviously 2014.
Yeah.
That
Michael
Donegal
Murphy
kick out down to
McHugh,
Michael Murphy, flick on, runners off. Armagh done it, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
against Antrim. So maybe see a bit of that in the championship.
Do you still see that at night time? Ryan McHugh coming through.
When I seen that happening in Armagh in the athletic grounds, I was like
traumatized.
What's going on here? Do I see yellow jerseys here? Like, you know. But yeah. That made us go on to win a lot of things, so we're thankful for it.
Yeah, he did all right. All right, that's it. Thanks a million for watching. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you want to see next. Thanks a million to Kevin Kilbane, to Mick Bowen, the Dublin ladies team, and thanks to Philly McMahon, the main guy in Dublin media now. I think you're infested.
You're really digging that in, aren't you? The lads will love this.
Yeah, and share it on as well to somebody who might not have seen it here. We're on YouTube, we're on the independent.ie, and we're caught up all over social media as well. You already know that if you've watched it this far. So thank you again, and we'll see you next time.